Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more for some FaceIt League action. Had a bit of a break myself, was out on a convention for a few days, but hey, that is all done, that is dusted. We are recharged, ready to go here, and Dex, we're covering some more action back in South America. Love coming back here every single week. We got a match against Pumas and Garfo, both teams that are really still trying to step into the upper echelons of what has been that South America region, especially Garfo, a team that is still looking for the first win at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these two teams here. This is basically, after this game, their halfway point. They still both have to play Criminal Database, who is a team that disbanded. So they only have 3 more games left after this one here. So every game becomes really, really important now. Pumas was actually a team we casted last week when they took on Elements. Elements won that one there, putting them as one of the only 2 undefeated teams left in the South American Masters tier. As you mentioned, Garfo looking to find their first win tonight, have gone up against 2 very good teams in Morphus and Factor X in their first 2 games. So they played some of the toughest teams, Hunter, that me and you both kind of think here in this region.
Yeah, it very much seems to be that those two teams definitely are having 2 of the best cases to potentially make it all the way to EWC. I think there are other teams that obviously do have a chance. Every team at this point still has a chance, even if you are an 0-3 team, because we don't quite know every single specification of how the playoffs are going to work for that spot. But one thing we do know is the more wins you have, the better the chances are going to be that you're going to be able to get that spot potentially. But either way, we are setting up for this first map right now. Pumas are going to be picking our first map to get us started. Of course, Busan, Ilios, Oasis, the 3 choices. We see a lot of teams that have normally gone to start at Oasis, but Dex, this time around, going to be starting out on Busan.
Yeah, I really like this kind of change here. Like you said, a lot of the teams have been picking Oasis, going to Busan, kind of brings you to a little bit of a different area, different play styles. Dive is something that you can definitely see a lot here. High ground position, especially when you're on downtown, is something that you like to see played a lot, especially if you're playing something like a Widowmaker, an Ashe, a Cassidy, a Hanzo, something that you like that where they can take control of the high ground and basically just lock down a certain area of the entire map right now. But you look at the other 2 maps, Mecha Base, and I forget what the last one is called, but I'm just going to call it Drum. Those are 2 kind of brawl maps a little bit. Mecha Base, you could argue that is a little bit of a mix between brawl and poke, depending on where you truly want to play. But it just gives you a lot of good variety, like a lot of these control maps do.
Yeah, it really does in this situation right here. But one pick we're seeing directly out the gate here, Orisa getting banned, a popular tank on him in general, but I think especially in the South America region, we have seen a lot of these tank players seem very comfortable on the Orisa. So getting rid of the Orisa early on obviously could be a choice that maybe could bite down the line. Busan isn't exactly the most versatile map when it comes to a tank like this, but still, if you go into a place like Mecha Base, Orisa's not really one of the tanks I would want to run into here. Plus, it does protect whatever other tank you decide you want to run here, so this is a relatively solid opening ban.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about, like you said, Orisa seems to be a very favorable tank right now. Just in general, in the meta, you see a lot of teams playing it, but especially in the South American region, we saw it throughout Copa America. We saw it in CGL's playoffs a little bit, that Orisa was a very, very popular pick and might just be the tank for this region, but that doesn't mean that the tanks can't play anything else here. We saw a lot of variety last week in the series we covered with Pumas and Elements. So there is a good options here, especially with what I just said. You could play Dive one map, you could play Brawl another, and Poke another one here. So you could see 3, 4, 5, 6 tanks come out here just in this map alone. We don't know what the second ban is just yet, but if you're asking me, I'm leaning something over towards a Tracer, maybe even something like the Freya.
Yeah, those are 2 very reasonable picks early on right now, but yeah, Ana is a curious choice because I don't think it's a bad choice whatsoever. However, we are inevitably going to go to some map that is going to be dive related here, and Ana we have seen being banned out a bit more than the Brig when it comes to that situation, so I'm curious what that's realistically going to mean for the series itself right here, but obviously the Brig very much still bannable, so I think the Ana is a very fair pick in the situation right here. It's hard to really judge the first picks anyway, because these teams, as familiar as each other as they might be, you do kind of have to just go off of what you know, or perhaps just go off of something that you think would directly counter what you're trying to run.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the Ana ban is not necessarily one that surprises me at all here. I mean, like you said, there's still a couple other supports you could see being banned out here. Ana, especially on this map, especially getting rid of the Orisa. It's interesting that Ana is still being banned out here because you still have Kiriko there. Cleanse is certainly an option that you could have if you want to keep the Ana around, but you get rid of the need to have the Kiriko there for Cleanse. Sleep Dar's out as well, and honestly, just Ana is one of the better damage dealing supports, especially if you want to be playing one of those aerial units like a Pharah, like an Echo here on the two maps that have those high skyboxes of downtown and Drum again. Like, there's options where Ana could become a very, very dangerous threat here, but now that we don't see an Ana, I would be imagining we're looking at something probably like a Kiri Lucio, maybe Kiri Juno out here as well. Brig is still definitely an option. Zenyatta would be a fun one, but with the Orisa being banned out, I don't think we'll see much of the Robotic Monk this game, or this series map.
Yeah, honestly, we would surprised if we didn't see him much throughout the series. We have seen little glimpses of him, and it has had a relative fair amount of success, so I'm excited to see what that brings if we end up getting to a point like that. I don't think Busan would be particularly the map that we end up seeing Zenyatta, but, it's just one of those characters that feels like it can come out at nearly any time, and I can't ever judge it when it does come out. But Dex, either way, we're going to be getting ready to get into this first game to get things going here as we're about to jump in. I love it. This isn't my favorite sub-map, I will say, as we'll finally cut over. Instead of making our audience wonder and wonder and wonder, Downtown gonna be the first team to get us started here, and this one I would say plays to dive the strongest out of the three typical comps we see.
Yeah, this was the point I was talking about with it being dive. This is also the point where you could see some high ground pressure come out from maybe a hit scan. But right now, on the side of, I believe that is Garfo, I mean, you have Dystopia there on the Soj. Again, they can get up to the high ground, but they're probably not best suited for being up there. And now for Pumas, I mean, you have Vex coming out on the Ramatra, at least teasing us with it. I don't hate it, especially if they want to play that kind of... Okay, my bad. Niano is actually the tank here. Coming out on the poke tank of Sigma. Oh, nope, Hog. It seems like they're still kind of choosing here, which might not be the best for Pumas coming out the gate, but they're sticking with the Hog. This is a very, very interesting pick coming out here early.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, we look back earlier at the decision to ban out the Ana. I mean, it's something you see in comms sometimes, people are banning out the Ana and then running down the Hog, but in this situation, it's coming to light here in South America, has already looked at, has been taken care of right now, bringing up the advantage pretty immediately to the squad, as they're simply gonna have to kind of surrender the point here and try to find something, but no, instead, gonna have to try to regroup, but unfortunately, not gonna happen.
And right there, that's exactly what you want from your Hog. Pulling them into that trap. Poplot's going to be able to find them. Vex on this Widowmaker. Like I said, this is probably the one map outside of Drum where you can find the most value for a Widowmaker, just trying to control those high grounds. And you have to be watching out for the other side here if you're Garfo. Poplots, though, getting their name in that kill feed here pretty early and pretty often is what you really love to see from your Lucio, but you have to make sure they don't get too aggressive with it, or else they will be one of the first ones dying every fight.
Yeah, and you obviously don't want something like that right here as, Garfo, gonna figure out how you want to go about this in the situation right here. Have to be very mindful of Vex hanging around over on this Widow. Could be taken out if the dive was aggressive enough right here and is just finding multiple body shots right now, suspecting to potentially give Niano a chance to break through right now, but Vex will end up going down. The DPS trades coming through, but Lamont has already gotten to. Dystopia has gotten to right now as the flip extremely close to going over right now, but you can see still trying to hang in it right now as Rafa has made it back to the point. Unfortunately, it's going to be too little too late, I believe.
Rafa going to get there in time, but it's not necessarily going to be enough, especially losing Dystopia. You do still have Gusagaba here trying to do whatever they can, but they'll immediately be taken out right there by EFX, who does pop their own Kitsune Rush. And I mean, you look at how the area effect of that being used there, it was basically just to get rid of that. Now vibes coming out here from Vex, and I mean, you're basically one team fight away here if you're Pumas to winning this first point, and you would really have to start questioning some swaps from the other side here for Garfo, but I like that dive up there from the high ground for that Doomfish, trying to get rid of Vex, trying to just get them off it.
Yeah, and right now you constantly see the fact that Poplots is just staying in the face of both of these DPSs. Pulse Bomb going to mix. Vex has gone down, so this is definitely the best opportunity that they have had so far making this happen, but Rafa gets caught out. No chance of getting towards that beat, but advantage still securely in their favor. We're going to see the flip coming through at 95% now, and now the important thing is keeping your tank alive right now. Block coming through. Could potentially be forced to eventually use the ult just to make it back.
Kitsune Rush now coming out here from the other side. As I mean, if you're Garfo, you need to get something going your way now. You need to get rid of Nyano.
Yeah, Blade ready to go as well as Sophia's already gone down, and Blade's got to come out online. Beats there too. Gonna get rid of one. Unfortunately, it might not be enough at the end of the day. Ult to still be able to hang on for a while, but kind of has to let the flip go through and just take a different opportunity. Gonna try to find something. Punch gonna go through the cleanse. Unfortunately, a retouch is not gonna happen. 125 to get us started. Pumas, the partial success we saw from last week, clearly carrying over here early on.
Yeah, I mean, Pumas, we saw them go up against a really, really good Elements team, and like we kind of talked about, Elements might be one of the favorites in this entire region to potentially win it. And they played really good. They just weren't ever able to get over the hump in that game. Remember, it was a sweep for Elements against Pumas last week. But right now, I mean, I'm just looking at the stats. I mean, EFX and Ano never died, and when you have your Kiri and your Hog not dying in a round, you're doing something really, really good. Lamont, also 11 picks, 11 eliminations, the only player on either side to have over 10 eliminations, was doing a lot on that Tracer here. And right now, coming out of the gate here on this map, you do see some swaps coming out for the side of Garfo. Gustavo going over to the Jungle Queen, and I love Jungle Queen on this map, in this map particular. I mean, the long sight lines here allow Jungle Queen to find so much value, not only with the knife and the axe, but also the Rampage here. And since you still do have EFX on the other side with some cleanse, you're going to be trying to force that out here early on, but I mean, you need to be able to keep your own tank alive, your Garfo at the moment.
And that just doesn't happen in the slightest right here. Dystopia, who already has kind of been a key figure for the squad so far, helping get rid of Lamont in this situation right here. It's a 4v4, but still being down the tank is going to make it really difficult to do anything. Eventually, you're just going to get head-hunted down the situation by Vex. It's going to be really hard to really bounce back at this point if you are Garfo. You'd be lucky to get everybody out here alive, but at the very least, Pumas is taking their sweet time capping this point, and with Nyano down, Dex, it's very possible to pull this back.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It seems like both teams are trying just to win the team fight first before actually going for a point here. So it's still a very scrappy team fight. It's back and forth, but Garfo does have the slight advantage by having Gustavo here and getting rid of EFX here again. EFX didn't die that first point at all, already died 2 times here before the point is even capped.
Yeah, and a TP for Vex onto the point doesn't matter a whole lot. So at the end of the day, Garfo gonna take the first fight here on second point, but already Ultimans, I mean, starting to become a conversation, especially Vex Lamont getting relatively close.
Yeah, and those ultimates are just openers here right now. Lamont's full spawn would be huge, but Vex, they're probably looking for a little bit more with that Death Blossom. However, on the other side, Dystopia is not that far away from their overclock. That would be one that I would look to see to potentially win a team fight very, very early on. But right now, Puma's still just looking to find an early pick here.
Yeah, just hoping to find something in this situation right now, trying to run it down as Nyano. Vex to go through, get rid of 2, though, and that should realistically solidify the fight. At this point, it should realistically just be a stall game for the rest of Garfo.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like Garfo's going to be looking for the stall instead. They're just going to have to give up the point. 41%, though, is very good. And when you look at what they are coming into in this next fight, they're actually in a really good spot. They have Blade. They're going to have Kitsune Rush. They have the overclock. They're not that far away from Rampage, but same thing could almost be said here for Pumas. It's going to be a heavy ult fight here. From what we saw from this region in the first couple weeks, these teams like to play fast with their ultimates.
Yeah, be gonna come online. Be gonna try to find something with that. Rampage gonna catch on to 2, but unfortunately gonna lose the tank super early on. Dystopia, again though, being the figure for this squad right now, is gonna run like the battle of the bulls, trying to find something, getting a ton of damage, but unfortunately not getting eliminations at the moment right now, and eventually Dystopia being forced into a corner as Vex gonna go and try to find a couple of finishing blows right now. Gonna be forcing bodies out as Dystopia will eventually be taken out, and as close as they were to a flip right now, it doesn't look like it's actually, it will happen at least momentarily, Dex.
No, it's going to happen because Pumas overextended way deep in that fight. Nyano should be able to find 1 with the whole hog right here, maybe find 2 as well, but they overextended that. At this point, should really not have flipped. Lamont also used their pulse bump, but they used it just as they died, so it basically got canceled out here. They will get the flip eventually, but still, you're in a really good spot right now if you're Garfo, especially finding that pick on the pop lots. You have your own beat, and you have your own Kitsune. You're in a good spot to take a quick fight here. You really need Dystopia, though.
Yeah, but you get the extra healing right now from letting go of that Kitsune Rush, but in the background, gonna get booped away, and the cleanse coming through. That is improvement in real time, ladies and gentlemen. Nyano has been taken care of right now. Cappy is getting hunted down, but is doing a really good job just escaping from all this, and now it is Pumas who is focusing on the stall game, gonna get it to 66% as Garfo going to take the lead and then some.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you're any member of Pumas who's still alive, you just need to find a way out, whether it be death or whether it be running back to the spawn. Seems like Lamont will be able to run back to spawn here, but now Pumas is in a really, really bad spot, in my opinion. Yeah, they're coming up to ultimates, but you look at what Garfo has here. Closer to the rampage, Guzagabo built it up very quickly. Dystopia not far away from a pulse bomb, and Ligtad almost has the blade ready to go, and you get Lamont out early. You could be looking at final fight here right now if you're Garfo.
You got to be careful, too, because that beat is not quite online yet. So if you get hit with something like the Rampage, I mean, you're done. You're dusted. There's nothing you can do about it unless that cleanse hits everybody right now. You see everybody playing carefully. You're going to see the caps are coming through in the background. We're going to see the blade coming online right here. Liglet not finding a ton with it, but is forcing a lot of things out right now as, Gustavo is just really trying to wait for the opportunity. Gonna come through, get 4 beat though. It comes online just in time, forced into a corner, but unfortunately Niano gonna get taken out, and now things becoming desperate as Pumas trying to get back to the point. They will touch it, but the odds are stacked so heavily against them.
EFX does find one, but eventually Dystopia coming out on that Tracer after making the swap off of those Soj. It looks like it's working out like a charm for them here. To make that 3 picks in this final engagement on this point. Niano swaps over to the Doomfist to try to get back in time. Not going to do that here. And Hunter, we're heading to a point 3, and coming into this point here, I thought Pumas kind of had this map in control. It seemed like they were understood what they wanted to do in both the macro and the micro. But I mean, Garfo making those swaps on that point were the biggest difference. I think Guzagabo playing that Junk Queen was just a little bit too much for everyone on Pumas to really deal with here. And look, you're even seeing Pumas basically mirroring them at this point. Lamont will play the sim here just for a TP out, but I mean, they're mirroring what Garfo used at the end of that last point and worked to perfection for them. I mean, it really disrupted a lot. You see Dystopia going back over to the Soj. I don't blame them for that, but I really like the Tracer a little bit more. But you have Ligtat there on that Genji, so you really don't need 2 dive heroes like that. But Guzagabo going over to the Doomfist instead here. This is an interesting pick considering I thought their Junk Queen was incredible that last point.
I also thought it was as well, but sometimes you go in with a different plan right here. This could have been something that they had already planned ahead of time, and you don't really want to think about changing the game too much right here. But you got to be careful. That Junker Queen can have a lot of sustainability. Lamont gonna get taken down, and now the power punch there and ready to go. Gonna be forcing Niano into a corner right here, but will get rid of Rafa, so this isn't quite over yet. But with that punch, it will definitely end things. And now, I mean, Garfo, who's having a slow start right now, I mean, looks to have gotten it together pretty well.
Yeah, I just think that first point was a little bit of a warm-up period for this Garfo squad. They look like a completely different team, and Guzagabo coming on this Doomfist, yeah, I was questionable about it, but right now they are showing off the skills here on the Doom, already finding a lot, getting a lot of stuns out as well. That's exactly what you want your Doomfist to do. I always call these Doomfists and Wrecking Ball kind of comps just these kind of chaos comps. You just want to create as much distraction as you possibly can, allow those DPS to find the value, and right now Ligtan and Dystopia are doing an incredible job of Guzagabo.
Yeah, and again, taking care of business, has another big punch coming through. Not going to find anything at the moment. Bit of a rough position, but again, has the block, is going to be able to have the cleanse if they ever get hit too hard right here. And I mean, honestly, the DPS are doing so good at following up on this aggression right here, and this team has woken up so quickly, and now Puma is looking like they're at a loss right now.
They are at a loss. They might be dazed, confused, and everything in between here. I mean, they won that first point convincingly, really convincingly, but ever since then, they just haven't looked the same. Look, you see him going over to Hog, Bex going over to the Sombra. I think it's a great swap. It might be a little bit too late here. These DPS on the outside might just be charged up enough as Dystopia pops off with the Overclock.
Yeah, and Dystopia's already gotten rid of one right now, ready for the second. What a flick to get rid of it, too. Oh no, 70% and counting, still 3 ultimates on the table, and the closest that they are out to ultimates is a beat and a pulse bomb.
And here's the thing, this is final fight. This is final fight for Pumas. If they don't win it, they have no ultimates. They need to stall for a little bit to allow EFX, Lamont, and Poplots to build to their ultimates, because that's the only hope they have here. You look at what the other side has, the blade might just be enough to do it for Garfo here.
Yeah, but all gonna get forced out kind of early on right now. Liglet has a blade ready to go. Might just try to go in all in on getting rid of Niana right now, but already gonna get hacked out of it right now. Creates a 4v4. Gonna miss getting that hook right now, and they're not even gonna make it back to the point. That's a little unfortunate right there. But hey, Garfo wins out the gate here. Not the expected jump at the beginning that we were expecting, but I mean, I'll say it over and over again. This team woke up. This team clearly coming into this wanting that first win badly.
Yeah, and I mean, it was an incredible map for them. I mean, like I kind of said, after that first point performance for Pumas, I thought they kind of had this map in the bag, but Garfo made these slight swaps to their composition, and man, did it make a huge difference for them here. Remember, this is a team looking for their first win of this Masters tier season, and they have gone up against some incredibly tough teams. So, I mean, the results might not be there just yet for Garfo, but this is a great start to this series and potentially find their first win and turning this entire Masters season around for them.
No, I 100% agree in the situation right here. You love to have a start like this if you are a big fan of Garfo right now, but now it is Puma's opportunity to go and pick the map this time around right here, and we know already they want to go to Circuit Royale this time. It's going to be a big poke battle in the situation right here, so I'm curious to see what the shift is going to be, and honestly what the bans are, and honestly, with how things were, I still think the Soj might be your biggest threat right here. Dystopia was doing a lot on the Tracer and the Soj, but that Soj can be so powerful on a map like this, but no! The Genji is banned instead.
I don't blame them. I mean, the Genjis were doing great for both sides, but especially Garfo, those last 2 points, the Genji was finding a lot more value for them. But I'm looking at the stats here for this first map, and it really, in my opinion, comes down to the DPS lines here. And I'm not even going to look at, eliminations. I'm going to be looking at deaths here. 23 combined deaths for the 2 DPS on the side of Pumas, 12 for this combined deaths on the side of Garfo. Man. Keeping your DPS alive here is very, very important. Just like your tank. I talked about after that first point, the tank for Pumas didn't die at all. Same thing with EFX. They didn't die. That Hog Kiryu worked out like a charm, never dying on that first point, led Pumas to that win. But then they started getting picked out early. Garfo learned who they need to get rid of, and they just kept on targeting them. It seemed like it was either the tank or EFX getting taken out early on there for Pumas almost every fight, and they found their way to win it. And it worked out to perfection there for them. But I mean, at the same time, you're getting a big elimination support there from the support lines. 28 picks on the side of Garfo. I mean, that's a lot, especially for supports in any game.
No, it really is in that situation right here. It's definitely an underrated thing when you see something like that, because obviously we as, people love to look at the big elimination, big damage numbers. Those are always the things you really want to look at when you see your DPS players, but it's when you get numbers like this that it is just exceptionally impressive how much you can do in just 3 rounds of control. A game mode that can go by considerably very quickly, and to be honest, while this was a 2-1, I mean, all 3 of those points got done in relative, quick fashion as well, so at the end of the day, gonna see if that is going to continue to be the case right here. Gonna move on to Circuit Royale in this situation right here. Again, it's going to be a big poke battle. It's going to be definitely considerably different than what we saw over on a map like Busan, but a lot of the poke elements like that, like that Sojourn, I think should definitely still stay on.
Yeah, Soj, I mean, we did see Vex play the Widowmaker a little bit last map, and I was going to say this, I'm wondering when we're going to be seeing Freya. Yeah, Freya was nerfed a little bit, but you're still seeing Freya get played a lot. At any rank here. And just a quick highlight here. The bans, again, were Genji and Ramatra here. So, a very interesting Ramatra, I feel like, has its place on this map. But now that Orissa's back into the hero pool, I would imagine, especially after this first point, you might see swaps off of the Sig over to an Orisa, especially if you're the attacking team that gets kind of stopped on that way up the hill. But coming out of the gate here, I mean, you do see Pumas have a lot of time here to make swaps, but this is kind of what I expected from Garfo. Even though this is the first time seeing them, this is kind of the backline I always expect to see here. Capium on the Iari. This seems to be a map that they show up a lot on. But Rafa coming out on the Juno, that is an interesting one. I don't hate it. It gives Kusagabo an escape tool if they get stuck maybe a little bit too far forward.
Yeah, 100%, but Vex has already managed to get rid of one in this situation right here. Rafa being taken out, I mean, it's kind of just a devastating blow because you lose out on really be able to keep your tank sustained, and now you're just forced to back out entirely.
But that's not the worst thing for the defensive side. Okay, now it's getting worse. But this is what you have to watch out for right now. Vex is a scary DPS, or scary hit scan, and if they get hot, they get hot.
Oh, yeah. It can get very interesting very quickly right here, but already coming around that final corner right now, Liglat Just got to help come alive a little bit right here, help to take care of someone like Vex, like Lamont right here, is eventually able to force their way through. But hey, I mean, lucky for them, they're taking the sweet time, keeping only one on the point right here, playing extremely safe. Welp.
Vex getting rid of Ligtat there early on. I mean, everything is going Puma's way here. They look mad at the moment, Hunter.
You know, I'd be mad too if I go out and win the first, lose the first map like that. I could understand that state of affairs right there, as 5:15 on the clock, getting through that first one already. Capium getting eliminated, and now the rest of the squad just trying to run away, trying to get out with their lives intact.
And look at this right now for Garfo. There's a lot of swaps. Capium going over to their third support now, play this map. Bliktak going over to a Tracer. Gustavo going over to the Doomfist. The amp coming out from EFX here. They want to try to get as much progress as they can early on.
Oh, and they're going to get a ton of it. They could be trying to get this thing into, like, one fight territory this early on right here, which, to be fair, with the ults that are coming up online here, honestly, wouldn't surprise you if they managed to somehow pull it off and try to, you know, we saw an exceptionally fast one on Circuit Royale a couple of weeks ago. We could be looking at a replication here.
But right now, I mean, if you're Garfo, you need something to go your way, and Dystopia's Overclock might just be the thing you need here. But, oh my god, Vex.
Oh, no, and that's catching body after body. Everyone getting deleted right now. Liglat looks like it's still hanging around here, but it's just going to be a stall tactic. So this is going to be, what, like 5:40 on the clock?
Oh yeah, exactly. 5:40 on the clock here. And one thing that we didn't talk about at all is the fact that Poplots came out on the Lifeweaver. This is a map where you start to see Lifeweaver a lot on both sides, especially on the attacking side. They've been doing excellent on the attacking side for them. They are basically the cart princess for them at the moment, but they're able to do so much for their team. And Garfo, I mean, they're looking a lot like the team we saw at first point of last map. They don't look like they kind of have a good idea of what they really want to do here, but they really desperately need to win a team fight here just to try to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, Vex finally gets taken down once more in the situation right here. Has opened up the door a little bit right here, looking for a pulse bomb potentially. Gonna stick it on beautifully, but Immortality Field gets onto everybody, and I mean everybody. Elsewise, that pulse bomb could have gotten more than one.
It should have got two right there, but Immortality Field has been huge. Vex, again, that's already their 8th pick. Make that their 9th pick here. Like I said, do not allow this character to get hot. Do not allow this player to get hot, because they will not miss.
Yeah, and Ligtat trying to find something in the back line right here. Wants to try to get rid of FX if possible. Unfortunately, Vex, I mean, just isn't going to let that happen. 4.5 minutes on the clock. 2 great ults, well, 3 great ultimates. 2 more. Not so far around the corner. This could be a devastating time bank.
Visor coming out from here.
Oh, no.
Right now, but again,
No!
if you're Garfo, you need something. Someone stop this Widow.
Oh, and yeah, I think they're definitely not happy campers about that last map right here. Gonna try to hit the accretion. It doesn't happen, as forced to go ahead and use the ult. The last thing they really have at the disposal right now, if Capium does not get back out in time, is going to try to TP back out. Won't be able to do so. Ligtat can be thrown out there, and they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink into this fight because it is a must-win situation right here. Don't want to lose with this much in the time bank right here. Going to throw it in. It's going to miss Dex, and now this might be throwing in way too many ults at awkward times.
I think so, because that tree is just finally going away. Now you have a good opportunity, especially with this damage coming out from EFX. I mean, you are putting yourself in interesting spots right now if you are on the side of Garfo.
Yeah, right now, I mean, the numbers game is still just too much. It doesn't matter. Dystopia is there, able to get rid of one, but at this point, I mean, it's just a stall game they're taking care of. 3 minutes and 23 seconds on the clock. That is a highly exceptional amount of time right there. Something that's going to be, I mean, one hell of an uphill battle. We got to be real.
Yeah, and incredible. I mean, here's the thing. We talk about this every time we see an escort map. If you finish under a minute, hey, good job, you finished the map. Over a minute, great. Over 2 minutes, amazing. Over 3 is incredible, and over 4 is almost unheard of. So almost having 3.5 minutes here for Pumas here, what a round for them, especially bouncing back from almost being stonewalled on the last 2 points of Busan. I mean, they looked lost at points like we kind of mentioned, but this time around, it was all Garfo just looking completely lost. Like, they did not necessarily know what they wanted to do. They were in between comps so much. I did like the the Venture pick coming out there late from them as a stall tactic, and it was doing a really good job. But Nano hit an accretion onto them as they're trying to burrow themselves in the ground, and that was basically the beginning of the end for them there. But right now, I mean, if you're Garfo, yeah, you see that large time bank on the other side. Your goal right now is just to complete the map and force overtime, because you know how this team wants to play. If you can get to overtime, you can try to fix your defense here a little bit. But Poplots on this Light Weaver, like I said, didn't talk about them a lot going into this map or going into the last round. Didn't die at all. 14 assists, a great amount of healing, and the trees are so strong at the moment. I think Life Weaver is one of those kind of sneaky good picks, but no one really wants to play them.
Yeah, I mean, I would very much agree with that sentiment right there. So, either way, at the beginning, Garfo, you want to get off to as solid a start as possible. You see much more aggression coming out here from the side of Pumas. Like that, gonna miss out on the wall in the situation right here, but it's just trying to get a lot of space right here. Lamont has been taken care of pretty early on right here. They're playing the safe game, but Vex, unfortunately, doesn't want to play that game. What?
Oh my goodness, Vex. The human highlight reel at the moment. They are popping off on this Widow, being a difference maker. I always call Widow a little bit of a glass cannon, but when they hit, man, they are scary. And Vex might just be the scariest Widow in this region at the moment.
Yeah, good accretion to kind of knock them back a little bit, cool things down a little bit, but you still have to try to find a pick right now, and that pick could end up being, you know, Nyana right now, who gets walled off right here, but gonna have plenty of abilities to be able to stay alive for the time being, as that cart needs to start rolling forward a little bit right here, because you're playing for position, you're trying to make this a one-fight scenario potentially right here, but for the time being, accretion's there. Vex, I mean, again, just finds another pick. I mean, Vex just kind of just single-handedly stopping every advancement.
And it's not like they're in weird angles. You know where they're going to be. Lamont as well, getting rid of Gusagabo. If you are Garfo, I think you're going to get helped out here a little bit. You have to reset, and yeah, it seems like Pumas is glad to help them out here with this reset. But Vex, they are looking right down main at the moment. They are trying to find a couple more picks here to stagger out some time. And you cannot allow that to happen.
This is becoming a little insane. I gotta be real right here. I can't wait to see these numbers in a bit. But Dystopia, yeah, that's the step you needed right there. Now it's gonna be hard to really protect anybody. You're gonna push in right now. You're gonna have a flux essentially for free right here, but it's gonna miss unfortunately right here. So the door beginning to open wide for Garfo as they're throwing everything into this right here, and that's gonna catch on to 3. Accretion gonna miss right here. Opportunity has to be right here right now.
That tree is doing such a good job keeping Nyano alive, and that's basically their basic hold here. The Blizzard, that's an arm throw and
pull them back into it.
One freeze, but I mean, you're getting kills here.
Poplots unfortunately pulls their tank back into it. I mean, it was a rock in a hard place already, but man, that's a little unfortunate. I think with that, first point does have to be surrendered.
Yeah, it's gonna be surrendered here, and Nyano going over to the Wrecking Ball.
Wait, yeah, they're touching.
No, wait, they're still contesting. Yeah, Lamont is there. I think they're trying to get back out there. It looks like they second guessed that, or thought about that again. Going right back over to the SIG here. The Wrecking Ball would have been fun to see. I just don't know how good it would have done. But remember how the second point went for Pumas. They pushed up and just basically won every team fight and really never had a contest on it. Right now, if you're Garfo, you need to try to do the same thing, but you need to be smart with it here. You do have some ultimates to play with, but you have Lamont on the other side with that overclock, which they've done pretty good with so far, and Vex about to pop those visors off, I would imagine.
Yeah, 100% gonna go for the flick is Vex right now. Gonna get a body shot, but was looking for the head there. Unfortunate right now. Dystopia still very much sitting over on this overclock, and instead it's going to be them running through, trying to find something with this orbit array right now. Gonna be doubling down, but Lamont's gonna shut them down right then and there on the spot. Could be a devastating use. It's a 4v4. It's still winnable right now if you are Garfo right now, but you need to keep your take alive first and foremost right here, and Rafa could be forced to use the last ultimates they have here right now. Is Flux going to be used here? Going to use the solo ult. They're just going to pull him out of it right here as they need to go and touch this point, which they will do momentarily right now, but the numbers game currently well in favor right now of Garfo. We're holding on and are going to push through 4 minutes on the clock.
And now how this round's going for Garfo is kind of reminding me how the entirety of last map went for them. They started off slow, got better as it went on, was able to put together that second point of Mecha Base, and then never looked back on third point. They're slowly starting to do that again here. They're starting to shut down Vex here, and they even made Vex get off of the Widow. Granted, this is not necessarily the best point for Widow on defense, so going over to the Freya is probably a little bit of a better pick. You have Tree, you have Flux, you're not that far away from another overclock. If you are Pumas, you're in a good spot right now, especially when you get rid of the only ultimate on the other side.
Yeah, 100%. You make a little bit more space. Vex does manage to get rid of one right here, as you see. I mean, Pumas is safely going to go over to the high ground up top, just going to try to clear it off, make it as uncomfortable as possible right here, as, Niano thinks they get rid of something, but they get rocked out of it, unfortunately, and Tree going to be used directly afterwards. So at the end of the day, while they are going to win the fight, that's essentially a 2-for-0 ult trade, which, I mean, you can't be too mad if you're Garfo as they invest in ult.
Wait, no, they're gonna get Niano hit for the pull! The pull from Poplots. This Lifeweaver has been coming in so clutch for them here. And this is a map where you start to see Lifeweaver a little bit more in the OWCS level, which is a funny thing to say, but it's working out here for Pumas.
It is right now. Lamont, though, currently has a trigger for the one ult that could be changed around the fight at the moment right here. You see rotations up to the high ground right now as Lamont is going to go for it right now. Rough spot to be in if you are Ligtad right now, but Lamont getting pushed back further and further, not finding a whole lot at the end of the day right now. Nice shot right there from Rafa. Flux to come online. Unfortunately, Lamont is not going to get pulled out of that one. Their camaraderie is going to be instead, and now I mean, Orbital Ray on the board right now, numbers dwindling one after another. We could be looking at 2 different time banks with 2+ minutes.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Garfo, what a comeback for them here.
God.
I thought they might have been dead in the water. Also, eating away at some of that time bank that Pumas had. 3:10 for them, 2 minutes now for Garfo. I mean, they got better as that map went on. They got better as that round went on. I mean, I think Vex swapping off the Widowmaker was a little bit of a tell here for them, because as Vex was just finding pick after pick, it seemed like this Pumas team was unstoppable. But I mean, once Vex got onto the Freya, it wasn't necessarily the same kind of output. I mean, even their one ultimate they got, they kind of shot it into the ceiling. And I understand they were probably looking to get the Fluxing Sigma, but there was nowhere near it. And just is an unfortunate use of that ultimate there. However, like, Garfo's doing a good job keeping themselves in this map. 2 minutes on the time bank, though. Hunter, you have to remember, last round, it took them basically 2 minutes to kind of get going. And Vex coming out on the Freya, I don't know how I feel about that. I felt like the Widowmaker for them did an incredible job, especially on this first kind of long sight line of just shutting members down. I don't know if that's the right move. I would just have said stick on the Widow until you die once and then go over to the Freya.
Yeah, I think this is one of those choices that you're going to learn the outcome of pretty quickly in the situation right here. Because before, that was their biggest issue, honestly, was the Widowmaker trying to get through. Because every time they started winning a fight, Vex would just find a pick or two, and the momentum would just completely stop for Garfo. And now in this situation, I think that's still obviously a concern, because Vex is still Vex. But in this scenario right here, they're going to go pretty aggressive, sending out the TP to get some early advantage here.
Yeah, and I don't hate it. I really don't. But right now, you need to get something going here. Right now, if you are Garfo, you're getting around the corner, but that's because Pumas is allowing you. But now that you know that Vex isn't on that Widowmaker, that allows you to play a little bit more aggressively here. Yeah, you can still get 2-tapped, but that's the difference between getting 1-tapped and 2-tapped. You have a little bit more time here, and that's exactly what they're taking advantage of at the moment. Yeah,
you saw that right there, getting pulled back, so gonna have to start surrendering that very first corner right now. Doesn't mean you can't go back for it, obviously, but right now, ultimates are not even a question at this point. It's too early on to even be considering that right here, as lots of damage seems to be coming through right now. Is Niano gonna get walled off again, getting eventually frozen, but is somehow sticking alive momentarily and eventually gonna get pulled away.
Yeah, but right now, I mean, this is exactly what you want if you're Garfo. However, if you're Pumas, you're fine with this. This is a very hard point to push back to if they lose, especially with a minute left. You're looking at rushing back to it here. And you cannot afford to lose Niano here early if you're Pumas, though.
Yeah, right now it's tough right now as Justofia kind of going for broke for a moment there, decides to think better of it as they're going to get pushed back further and further. Body's getting low eventually. Bolo shot going to come through right now. Liglat in a really tough position, gets deleted, and now if I'm this Puma squad, I am trying to, or this Garfo squad, I'm trying to get out of dodge and reset.
Yeah, no, this is your reset point. If you lose Gustavo and Rappa, you can basically say curtains for this round, especially with the heroes that you're playing on at least. Yeah, but look at what they have here. They're about to have some pretty good ultimate tower. Same thing.
Oh my god.
Pumas, but Vex, you lose Gustavo. The Flux coming out as well. well. Some swabs are going to have to be made here by Garfo if they even want to get a touch.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to send the speed. You're going to see the swap right now over to the Doomface. You're going to have to use speed. It is honestly give your all to make it to this point right here. They're going to go through right here. Accretion has to be big. Tree at the end of the day going to make it through right now. But unfortunately, they're losing body after body. It might not matter at the end of the day. It is just the 3v1 right now. Eventually going to punch them out of it right now. Dystopia, though, is hanging around, but eventually going to get taken out. It's a 2v1 now. Going to punch out of the Accretion. Needs to live. Needs to just survive onto the point for as long as they can. Is everyone trying their damnedest to make it back? But Dex, I don't think it's happening.
And I understand why they didn't want to make swaps because they had ultimates, but in that moment right there, you kind of have to forego your ultimates. Dystopia and Kusagaba, though, did so good at even making that into a fight there at the end where you could say, hey, they still have a chance. They still had a huge shot right there to get that first point and to keep pushing. But where they got the cart, it's still a pretty good amount here. I mean, yeah, you still have almost an entire round if you're Pumas here to push it, but Garfo got it just far enough that, I mean, losing 1 or 2 fights might put Pumas in a spot that they really don't want to be in. However, I mean, now that you see Pumas go back over to this attacking side, it would not surprise me to see Vex stay on the Freya. I personally would still really like to see the Widow. I feel like that was just something that really worked out for them. The Freya, it did work out pretty good. Got the first pick that last fight, but we saw that last round. But we saw 2 bolo shots come out. I felt like both of them just kind of missed. So finding some value with them, and you can kind of see Vex hasn't picked yet. So they're questioning whether, or they're trying to figure out which way they go with here. Especially if you have EFX kind of hovering over the Mercy at the moment. Yeah, I was gonna say they're probably gonna stick with the Freya here and try to get those. Try to get an amped Freya out there early on. If you're Garfo, you have to play safe. You cannot afford to. You can afford to lose a team fight early, but you cannot afford to say let them push it to the bridge and then lose a team fight.
Ooh, yeah, and the Pharah gonna be coming out here. The situation. It's an interesting pick. They're just try to see if they can find the early pick right here. See if they can catch anybody off guard. Gonna go for the pull. No bait, and gonna be hit as Vex for the time being. Gonna stick on this as I mean, Ligtat's literally in the worst place possible right now.
They are on main. Dystopia finding Lamont does help them out a little bit.
What?
That's gonna fall as well. That's gonna give Ligtat that opportunity to get out of dodge, and Puma's gonna have to back up here. So if you're Garfo, hey, mission 1 done. You won the team fight here. You're eating away at that time bank, and probably by the next time you see this Pumas team regroup back up, it'll be around the same amount of time that you had coming into this attack, and the cart really hasn't moved that much.
It hasn't. This is exactly what you want in the situation right here. Vex staying on this is, I think, still fine as they're going to swap right there eventually as Ligtat finally going to get punished for doing that. And now you might see them surrender this entire area right out the gate here and play for the final corner. And it looks like that's just going to be the case. Easy as that.
And I like that. No reason to stay up there. That May was basically the kind of cornerstone for that. You did not need to do that. That disrupting shot, though, is going to come in clutch, getting rid of the break here. And now you're going to see this Pumas team get very aggressive.
I mean, yeah, there's no reason not to, and honestly, that could be it right then and there. Ligtat still hanging around, but Ligtat, I mean, their one block that they had right here to really touch the point, not available, but they're only keeping 1 on. I would be putting 3 people on the card right now, but honestly, it might not matter at all. It doesn't.
It might not. No, it might. Ligtat's going to try to ice block here on the point, but it's going to be difficult. The ice ball's going to get there, but Lamont shuts them down, and yeah, that's going to do it for this map. Pumas bounces back after dropping that first map, and honestly, this was a really good map for them. Like we said, Garfo got better as it went on, but just the time bank difference was the biggest thing here. I mean, you give Garfo an extra minute. They're not making those swaps they had in overtime, and they're probably getting that first point and pushing here. But I mean, if you're Pumas, great bounce back. That's exactly what you were looking for them here. And now we have a series on our hands, Hunter.
Yeah, we 100% do in the situation, and it's definitely one of those things where it felt like it really could have gone either way once we got to that point. It's just a really unfortunate situation of just being slightly behind on a couple of the ults when you got to your final fight there in that 3rd round. Just the fact that you end up getting your mate picked off so early, and unfortunately, they made the right choice by backing out. When the position that we are in, I think that was the correct choice. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, Pumas just knew better than to let them regroup. They pushed it because at that point, it's not like you're walking into the Widow that could punish you super hard for that. They have to back out. Unfortunately, I mean, the aggression just worked out, but you just got to take it as a lesson, move on. And for Pumas, I mean, that's a sign for them that that aggression could just keep working on and on.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, we know what our next we know what our next map is. I don't know what the first ban was, but I'm just looking again here at stats after that first map, after that second map there. And the biggest thing I'm looking at is how Poplots played on that Life Weaver. Like we started really talking about, you're starting to see Life Weaver pop up a little bit more in all kind of levels of play, especially on this map. Same thing with Yari. Zenyatta is another one you see on this map. We saw Yari for a moment from Garfo, but they got off it very quickly. The Life Weaver, though, for Poplots stuck around the entire time, and man, did it make a difference for them, especially in overtime. They had to pick the perk that was always cleansing people when they pulled them away, and it ended up helping them out so many times in that overtime round. Tree as well. I mean, I feel like Poplots was a major reason they ended up winning that map. However, I mean, still, you have the other support there for Pumas out healing them by double the amount. I mean, that's what you want from your support lane there, especially when you have that Life Weaver, because it seemed like the Life Weaver was more, making sure they were getting people out of problems or out of spots that were maybe a little bit too far up.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that we managed to go so long, those damage numbers rose up. I mean, between Niano and obviously their counterpart here, getting 20,000 damage on each side right there, both being able to mitigate 22,000 and 28,000 respectively right there. I mean, just shows how much goes into being a Sigma. Obviously, we saw a bit of the Doomfist as well, but it really was that Sigma very primarily right here. But Dex, either way, we are getting into this one very shortly here, as I definitely didn't miss my invite. That would be very foolish of me, wouldn't it? Why would I ever do something like that?
Well, we have some time here, but I mean, right now, we know what our third map is going to be. It's going to be Sarabasa here, which is not necessarily a big shock. This kind of seems to be the area where we always see Sarabasa in every series, but we do know what our two bans are going to be. It's going to be Doomfist and Kiriko coming out here. Two interesting bans, in my opinion, especially when you look at it here. It seems like, well, I can't figure out who banned who, but I'm going to assume the Kiri was a ban by Garfo and the Doom was a ban by Pumas here, since we did see a decent amount of Doom come out there from the tank for Garfo. It's been a really interesting kind of pick for them here so far. But Kiri ban, not necessarily a big shock. It allows you to play a little bit more Ana here, and Ana Brig seems to kind of be a normal backline you see here when you don't see the Kiri. Lucio could be a potential, though.
Yeah, I think the potential is 100% there in this situation, so I'm just genuinely curious how it's going to work out, as, hey, we're going to get ready to get into this one properly on Sarabasa. I am, personally, a big fan of when we get into maps specifically like this, because I think what we have seen throughout the last like a year or so of Flashpoint has provided some pretty entertaining back and forths.
Yeah, and one thing coming into this map here, you see the first sub of the series gonna be the tank here for Garfo. Out goes Gusus Gabo coming in is Wazi.
Yeah, and coming out on the ball, obviously, I'm assuming maybe a little bit of a specialist. Unfortunately, they're walking into Niano, who's currently on the Ramatra. I would say one of the biggest counters towards a ball right here, because that ball gets caught in the wrong spot. I mean, they are just going to get punished big time right there. But a big nade to get things started as Poplat's taken care of. Trades out of the backline at the end of the day right now. Is Niano getting a ton of pressure. Only really has FX to keep them alive, but unfortunately, it looks like that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, and what did I talk about when we saw the Doomfist on the first map? I said Doom and Wrecking Ball are what I always like to call these like kind of chaos comps. That's exactly what you got there. Niano pushed up all the way through point by themselves, while everything there for YZ in that backline, they were all focused on them there, allowed them to get rid of the Ramatra early on, but I mean, Garfo's not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, they're really not in a situation like this. Point gonna head over their way for the time being right now, as again, I don't hate the fact they're going out on this ball right now, but for the time being, it's gotta find a little bit more than it is right now. They have the right idea, but they have to be finishing out the execution better.
Yeah, they need to be able to find some more picks. They need their DPS line with them as well, either Lake Tat or Dystopia. They need to have them there to clean up these pile drives, which you do see Lake Tat kind of hanging around them. Finding EFX out is huge, and Poplar just might die here, but I mean, Pumas at the moment is doing a really good job, and they get rid of the ball.
Oh boy, yeah, and again, they're gonna manage to hold on right here without too much issue right here. Pumas does get taken care of, but can re-engage quickly, and suddenly, never mind that reassurance, quickly turning into a nightmare as Niano and Lamont. Last couple standing, as eventually it looks like points gonna turn over. Gonna sit at, I imagine, about 75, if not 76% here, as Ultimate's quickly becoming a factor for both sides.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb's ready.
Ooh,
Niano actually
nade!
flopping a huge anti there by Capium. A huge way to get this going here. Builds up a little bit of the percentage for you. But Niano, look at this. Swapping off. They potentially thought about playing the Junk Queen, but no, going over to the Orisa. First time we're seeing that hero here tonight. Not necessarily a big surprise. We did expect to see it at some point throughout the series here in the South American region. But now it kind of puts them behind the 8 ball a bit with their ultimates. And Wazi finding Vex out early. I mean, that was the only ultimate ready for them at the moment.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unfortunate set of circumstances to get things going right here. It means you essentially have to wait right here. There's no reason to fully engage in this fight. They have to nade again right here. Luckily, they're going to escape momentarily, but FX is going to get taken out with it. Rafa, unfortunately, just goes in a little too deep right here and puts themselves on a vulnerable position, but Niano is honestly in the same exact situation. The city's super low right now. You need to see the engagement from Lictad with them as well, as eventually the numbers game will play out. Pulse Bomb going to stick onto the Sophia. They're going to be like, yeah, fair game. Just going to sit and take that one. What?
I mean, Vex by his last couple picks here, I mean, if they have the blinks, they should be able to get a touch. Wazi actually going to help him out, but they do fall. You do see the support line coming back, so this should be Garfo taking the first point, unless we see a major investment from Pumas.
Yep, and now FX will be eventually killed slowly, but surely, I imagine right here, as Wazi just taking a ton of damage, as FX, yeah, will get taken out pretty late into the game right here. 4 ultimates on the line for Garfo as well. This is I mean, as good of a start as you could hope for.
Yeah, I mean, especially after last map, they got better as it went on, but this is the first time we're not seeing really a slow start from Garfo. It's what I'd love to see. Look at their ultimates as well. They have 4 good ultimates from Lamont.
Okay, mine's are there too. Lamont does get taken care of eventually, but Rafa not going to be able to escape. But this isn't really over yet, as Ozzy still being alive means there is a definite re-engagement for this point right now, as Puma's just trying to regroup on the next point.
Yeah, and Pumas might actually be able to get the first point cap here because that first fight really took place at the first point, but Wazi going to be able to find pop lots here. That might give it up over to Garfo. Niano, though, oh, they're in a bad spot.
Yeah, and just going to roll through, just causing all sorts of chaos. Being over on this sim now is Vex. That is an extremely interesting choice right here. I don't hate it, but it is definitely a gamble as FX again hit with another anti, as Beat's going to get forced.
Yeah, Beat's going to get forced to keep him alive, but you get rid of Lictad on the other side, so you have a good opportunity here, especially getting rid of Capium as well. I mean, you're in a good spot right here if you are Pumas. You have ultimates as well, but you really don't want to be investing them at this point. Maybe invest one since Beat came out.
Yeah, I mean, you need to find a pick like now. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. You obviously see some bodies trying to get back, trying to make something happen. As Rafa hanging around, Wazi still hanging around as well. A re-engagement's definitely there, and honestly, for Pumas struggling to finish out a fight that felt like theirs 10 seconds ago.
Terra Surge coming out as well. I mean, it feels like a little bit of an investment that you are desperately trying to make here. Looks like the point's going to be given up here, but Ultimate's now coming out here from the other side.
Yeah, Nostofia has got the Nano, has gotten 2 already, and make it 3! Trying to make it more. Why is it going to take 1? Eventually finished off. The combo works out beautifully, and now Garfo can just go up and play aggressively.
I mean, I don't even know if it's worth it here for Puma to try to re-engage back into this point. I think you're just going to kind of be throwing yourself into a fight that's going to be a loss no matter what. I mean, you're seeing Niano. It looks like they might want to Mine coming out, though. I think that ends it here.
Yeah, there's just no way that's going to happen. Bastion is now on the table right now. It's already 2-0. A 20-player kill streak, making 21. And Poplots, he's about to make it 22. And my God, this ball, as much as it kind of got hit back at first, is now becoming nigh unstoppable.
And I mean, right now, this is the first time we're seeing this tank all series long here for Garfo. And Gustav Gabo did an incredible job in those first two maps, but Wazi is doing an incredible job here so far. And like I said, Wrecking Ball is a chaos comp, in my opinion. And right now, you can definitely see it on the side of Pumas. They are lost here. They're making swaps back and forth. Vex now on the Mei. They want to make sure that this Wrecking Ball finds as much struggle as it possibly can.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb is ready right here. Lamont going to be able to get rid of one right here. FX He's going to eventually, I imagine, probably get headhunted, get some care for a while, unfortunately falls apart, goes for the flick of a pulse bomb. Vex does get hit with some of the damage, and Rafa able to help finish it off at the end of the day. So while the flip has gone to Pumas for the time being, Garfo still very much has a dog in the fight.
Yeah, and Poplots has this beat, but I don't think it would be worth it for them to necessarily invest in it, who just try to stagger it out. But no, they're going to invest it here. Oh. They won't try to hold on. They think they have a chance to win this fight.
Yeah, Beacon to come up online, but it doesn't come out in time to keep them alive. But it will cause the flip to come through as they'll be able to regroup, but the numbers game might be against them soon here as Junkrat on the table now. What?
I mean, Vex is just reaching for straws at this point. They're trying to find anything to slow down this Wrecking Ball on the other side. I mean, it's just been a problem throughout. You see Lamont go over to Cassidy. I mean, they are basically trying to counter out this ball hard at this moment here. Lake Tan and Dystopia, though, they've been doing pretty good as well. And this backline, I mean, Capium and Rafa. Rafa, you've been seeing them get a large kill percentage here. And right now, Vex taken out early on.
Yeah. Yeah, Niano's gone too, Lamont, I mean, nice kill, dude. Vex gotta give credit where credit is due. Potentially one more fight remaining for this to be, I mean, nearly just a one-sided affair right here. Is just a nano to their name, and that is it by a mile.
And, I mean, if you're Garfo, you have everything you want here. You have mines. You're not that far away from Pulse Bomb, Overclock, Nano. You are in the driver's seat here. And it's going to be hard for you to kind of mess this one up. But, I mean, those first two picks, no Nano here now. I mean, if you're Pumas, you have a chance.
Yeah, and in fact, I think you probably have this at least for the terms of the flip right now. Dystopia is in a really rough situation, needs a little bit of care right now. You see bodies trying to get away, and now Overclock being used. Unfortunately, Dystopia doesn't really have targets. He's just going to have to try to run in there. Gets on the Poplots right there. Has people on both sides right now. Dystopia, though, is eventually going to get the care they need, going to be cleaning things up away, and Dex, unfortunately, this was a big old roll here on third map. Garfo now at match point, close to getting their first win on the season, and Pumas absolutely stunned.
And Wazzy, 33-2.
Wow.
Here, they put on a performance. And Hunter, I mean, that map flew by. It flew by. It's just
8 minutes.
I mean, this is exactly what Garfo needed after that last map, where they started off very, very slow. And like I said, coming in, after that first fight, they started off fast, and that was one thing we hadn't seen from this Garfo squad. And that Wrecking Ball caused so much problems there for Pumas. Remember, they banned out Doomfist going into that map because they knew that Gustav Gobo had been playing it throughout the entirety of the series at points to really open up a lot for them. So get rid of the Doom, but you leave the Wrecking Ball. It's the double-edged sword right there. You get rid of one of the problem tanks, you're still gonna have to deal with the other one, and it looks like this Garfo team has a Wrecking Ball player to be feared here at the moment, putting themselves on to series point. And like you said, Hunter, one map win away from their first win of this season.
Yeah, and it's pretty insane, as well as we're getting everything set up for the fourth and potentially final map. Rasapi ends up being the pick, so Push, I believe, was the leftover map type to go with right here. And now the bans are going to be questionable. The thing is, you could choose to ban the Wrecking Ball out here, force them to swap tanks, but then you leave out with the possibility you go to map 5, you go to a map where Ball is just really dominant, and we could just get a repeat of Sarabasa right here. So the question is, do you instead try to counter it a different way and try to save that ban for map 5 and risk it that way? Or Dex, do you pull the trigger now to try to give yourself a better chance to get to that 5th map?
Well, Runasapi is definitely in a map that, I mean, you could see Wrecking Ball. I mean, the long lines here where you have to push this bot, and just the entire geometry of this map and architecture allows Wrecking Ball to find a lot of value and a lot of room to swing around. So it could be an option you see here. But, I mean, this is the tough part now about this series. The fact that Pumas is behind. They have to win this map to force the map 5. And you would really love to keep that ban, that Wrecking Ball ban for map 5, but you might have to do it here, and you probably should do it here to try to force yourself into that map 5 position. And no, they're going to be banning out Lucio here, which is, I mean, I don't blame him. I really do not blame him, because remember, last round, Rappa was honestly scary on that Lucio. I mean, I am looking at the stats here. Again, Rappa had 10 picks, which was scary, especially that last point. It seemed like they were finding a lot of the engagement picks as well. Got a couple of environmental kills. And I mean, I'm just looking at the stats here for this, for this last map. I mean, like you said, this was truly a one-sided affair. Two members of that Garfo squad had over 30 eliminations.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't even one member on Pumas that had 15. I mean, you're looking at a big difference there in that last map for them. And like the funniest thing is Nayano had more damage than YZ did on that wrecking ball. They had over almost 2,000 more damage, over 2,000 more damage. Or I mean, no, my bad, 300 more damage. Yeah. It seemed like YZ was just doing too much on that wrecking ball here. But I mean, Runasapi the pick here. It's going to be really interesting to see what Pumas has to do here to kind of bounce back, knowing that the Wrecking Ball is still an option, that the Doomfist is back on the table as well, and it looks like Gobo is going to be coming back in here for Garfo as well.
Yeah.
At least at the moment.
Yeah, for the moment, that's what it appears to be the case. Obviously, you can make swaps up until the lineups have been finalized right here, so obviously they got a moment to the side right here, but it's still a scenario of the same 5 sitting by for Pumas in this situation right here. Don't really blame them here, as we will go into that. And the other ban is...
D.Va.
That's interesting, because I don't believe we've seen a D.Va in the series up to this point right here. Is this a scenario where... I mean... Okay, so
remember, this is Garfo's ban.
So this that being Garfo's ban doesn't make a ton of sense to me, mainly because if you're going to something like a Roadhog, which they did, obviously manage to take care of after a point, that Hog still got a lot of initial value right here. I think D.Va's a good character for that, but maybe you're not as concerned about it now that you have permanent access to something like the Ana. So I'm curious how it's going to work out, as we do know one swap, as we'll figure out very shortly. Crow making their first appearance into the series, it looks like.
Yeah, and Crow, I mean, we saw them a lot last series for this Pumas team. Did a very good job on the tank. Actually, no, they're support, aren't they? They're coming in for Vex. No, DPS. They're coming in for Vex.
Yes.
Here. So getting rid of Vex, who was, I mean, a huge reason why Pumas won Circuit Royale, in my opinion. Here, you're bringing Crow in. They're gonna probably have to play something like a hit scan. Maybe they're that flex kind of DPS player here, and you're gonna maybe see Lamont go over to that hit scan. I mean, they have played Soj a little bit throughout this series, so you might be coming in for that reason. But I mean, like we said on the other side, you do have Garfo bringing back in Gobo here on that tank. This is gonna be a really interesting round here. I think Pumas, these bans do kind of favor them as well, but the bans also don't hurt Garfo as much. I mean, the Lucio was really played last map, and really only last map. We've been seeing the support lines be kind of all over the place for both these sides so far. So right now, this map 4 bans are looking kind of questionable from both sides, but there's a reason that we're seeing these bans here.
Yeah, I mean, it really could just be the anticipation from Pumas thinking that they can pull this off and save one of those really important bans for that 5th and final map. That is a grand possibility right here. And even if they got rid of the ball, it doesn't necessarily raise or lower their chances by a ton, because you swapped out anyway. Doesn't quite matter. You might just ban it in that 5th map just to eliminate the possibility entirely. But either way, we're ready to get into this 4th map, Dex. Runasapi could be getting Garfo their first map, or it could be sending us to a potential map 5.
Man, it would be incredible to see a map 5 between these two teams. And you have to remember the stakes for this one. We talked about here, Garfo looking for their first win of the season. Pumas, they're looking to try to get back up into that top half of the teams here. 2-1 would definitely put them up there in that 3rd to 4th range. That would be an incredible start for the season for them, especially with some tough games coming up here. But coming out of the gate, Gobo coming out on the Doomfist, which is kind of what I expect to see. Crow actually is going to be the tank here. That's something we saw a couple times last week from Pumas, where Niano would swap over to a DPS at certain points throughout the series, so Crow could come in and be the tank. So I was kind of right when I said Crow was coming out of the tank here. But, I mean, you're having Niano play this Cassidy with the whole assumption that Gobo is going to be playing this Doomfist, and hey, they called that right. You have Poplots over there on the Brigitte as well. I mean, right now, everything on this composition right now for the side of Pumas is just to kind of make sure that the tank line for Garfo does not find the value it is really looking for.
Yeah, I don't blame the choice whatsoever in the situation. Dystopia on that Cassidy also to get things going. Love it right now. And Lamont tasting a bit of that firepower early on right now. Gonna see a little bit above a backup right now as Ligtat, unfortunately getting caught out here. Back into the 4v4 right now as Niano happily matching that Cassidy as well. It's going to make it really difficult for anyone to get in too aggressive, because, Dex, if you get too aggressive, you're going to get stunned by that Cassidy, and you just might be done right then and there, just like Rafa.
Ugh. Yeah, and that's not what you wanted to see right there. If you're now Garfo, you're trying just to back out of this one here a little bit. You do not need to be staying in it. And you lost Dystopia. I mean, if you're Pumas, this is the exact start you were looking for. We talked about it going in the last map where Garfo has been having these slow starts in maps, and it looks like they're back to those kind of ways here.
Yeah, and, I mean, to be fair, them getting the checkpoint right now, honestly, would not be a stretch to say right now. You're trying to get Gusagobo back, but I think this just comes through. They're going to get a cap a minute and a half in.
I mean, no, I could see the Doom trying to get a stall here. They're not going to be able to, though, but like you said, a minute and a half, incredible. It's probably about the fastest you could really get to that first point and getting those forward spawns. Right now, if you're Garfo, you need a fight. You desperately need to get rid of someone here early on.
Yeah, and I'm loving the fact that Cassie out here. Pulse Bomb gonna go out. Not gonna catch on to anybody right now. Ligtet in a bit of a rough scenario right now. Nano brought out onto Crow right now. They're starting to run it down as Gusagobo just, threw themselves to the fire and the flames, unfortunately, at 75 meters and counting. And right now, oh boy, Pumas, just like that second map, they are angry.
They are angry. They are mad. They complete this map in 3-4 minutes at the moment. I mean, if you're Garfo, you might have to be really considering making some swaps. You're always seeing Ligtat go over to the Torb here, and Gusagobo gets slapped in the backline.
Yeah, and now Ligtat gonna get pushed back a little bit, but is I gotta help him being a bit of a suppressant right now in the situation, as Niano has been taken out. Gusagobo goes ahead and invests the ult just to be able to do so. So, regardless, you're creating yourself a better scenario. Crow gonna get pushed in, and finally they're going to win a fight. But my God, is that one of the best starts you could have hoped for if you're a Pumas fan?
Ligtat getting a little bit of a mental win right there, getting the hammer kill. But, I mean, you needed that if you're Garfo. That map was slowly starting to get away from you there, and if you lost that fight, I would have been saying, like, hey, you have one more opportunity, and it was just going to be touches with no real ultimates out there. You have the Orbital Ray, though, but you're walking into a lot on the other side. Niano's Deadeye is going to probably be the one that I see find the most value, just with spacing.
Yeah, right now is Ligtat going to get taken down. I mean, you essentially have to give that up. You just have to back out, keep everybody alive. But we saw Pumas with that aggression in that map 2 scenario. Could be seeing it again, but looks like everyone should be able to back out for the moment being.
Yeah, but forward spawns back into control. I don't ever think they lost them there. And Orbital Ray coming out early from Rapper. There's the Deadeye, though, to cancel it out, essentially.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Punch is going to miss right now. Gonna trade out bodies right now. Not necessarily a bad thing here for Garfo, as you trade out right now. It's keeping everybody back, but unfortunately, Crow being alive with Annihilation means there is a big card to pull this back. With Niano going down, it means Crow would probably be in the wrong to try to pull this ult out right now.
Gusagobo in a bad spot right there. Able to keep us alive. Nano coming out there from EFX. The Annihilation out as well. That's going to be wasted.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, it finds one.
They're finding one, and somehow this is going to work out. This, Dex, Loki, that should not have worked out in that situation right there. Crow,
not at all.
No, that is a really unfortunate situation for Garfo. That is the best way to put it.
Yeah, but here's the thing right now. If you're Garfo, you're in a good spot, honestly, because of those ultimates that they invested there, and Dystopia popping off already.
Yeah, that's going to cause that one to go away right here. Just a couple of stalls coming through here is eventually going to go through, so that's going to be a fight win once more for Garfo, but 110 meters to 1, I mean, it's going to take a lot here, Dex, and I mean a lot.
It's going to take a lot, but, I mean, we've seen on this map in the past that it's possible. It is really possible. Push maps in particular, especially this one, seems like you can... All you really need to do is just get the cart rolling a little bit, and you have all the momentum go your way. And you have some ultimates here early on, which should help you out when you start to see this Pumas team re-engage. But there goes one of them, and Lamont has a pulse bomb.
Yeah, Lamont's not even going to need it in the situation right here. I mean, they're just going to run it down, but it still gets domed by Capium right now, who's in a bit of a rough position, we'll say right here. Has to use the cleanse right here. Crow, I mean, nearly getting taken out. If there's like kind of a standout for the moment, I mean, Capium has been doing a really good job staying alive and just finding these pot shots.
Yeah, and that's what you want your character to do here. Just be able to provide a lot of damage, provide a lot of healing as well, especially in this composition that you're seeing on the other side here. But that ultimate advantage you had going in the last fight, well, that's gone now because that ultimate advantage is now on the side of Pumas.
Yeah, but the pulse bomb being gone does kind of start opening the
Oh,
door right now. You trade out. You don't love losing Rafa. Punch is going to miss as well. I mean, you're finding something in this backline, but unfortunately, you're not finding any, like, real picks, unfortunately. Without that, you're kind of just killing time without accomplishing much more here, as Gusagabo is going to invest the all, which is strange. Never mind.
I don't think it's that bad here. You find one, but I mean, right now, the biggest thing you need to do, you need to win a team fight and just kind of reset the spawns here. Force Pumas to fall back, but I mean, Pumas is not allowing that here. They're doing a good job just controlling where the spot is.
Yeah, and this is just really bad right here. Gonna get stunned out again. Capium just picking them off one by one. And now gonna essentially pull it back for them right here. Just needs to get a little bit of care on the link. Ted is gonna get their second hammer kill of the game. I mean, they might be really behind right now, but they've got some style up to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to get those hammer kills, but when you're down 109 meters, you kind of, would like to be worth a little bit more here. However,
Yeah.
you're finally pushing this card again. Like I said, all you need sometimes is a little bit of momentum, and hey, a wall turret doesn't hurt either.
Nope, does not hurt in the slightest right here, as already at that level 3 is Lake Tat right now. As Crow having a hard time really going up, but they're stalling this point out immensely. Finally going to back out, as at last going to be able to start getting some meterage right here, but you need to win this next fight.
Yeah, I mean, you need to win this next fight. That will guarantee you actually probably the first point as well, which is exactly what you need.
Yeah, 100% right here. Crow has a grand possibility to just simply go aggro with this Annihilation. Gonna go in, gonna get super low, and eventually they're gonna double down for this, and it's gonna work out beautifully as Dystopia and squad pushing forward right now, trying to cut some bodies off right now. FX eventually gonna go down, not gonna lose anybody, so they're gonna get this checkpoint, and now suddenly Garfo, they've got a real chance here.
Yeah, they truly do. And I mean, hey, 4 spawns, 2.5 minutes. You've cut that lead in half. Essentially, you have some ultimates coming up here. That Orbital Ray and Kitsune Rush might be a scary combo, but Crow on the other side having their own ultimate ready to go here, just to kind of zone stuff out. And Niano finding out Capium, who's been a key player of this turnaround for Garfo's out early.
Yeah, and now you gotta think about just giving this up already. Yeah, Annihilation's out. This fight is 100% over right now. You just need to try to keep everybody alive right here. Gonna be a good rotation. Gonna get the Mega. Gonna keep 3 people alive right here. And you'll get your other 2 back with the good spawn.
Yeah, which is exactly what you needed here. You're gonna be able to get back in pretty quickly. And, I mean, you just cannot allow Pumas here to really push back up, especially with all the ultimates they have. It's gonna be a very, very tough fight. You need some of those ultimates to kind of just be wasted.
Yeah, speaking of right here, right now, I mean, Ligtad just, no man's land, unfortunately, gets forced out, but did help get rid of Niano, so the chance still very much existing right now, as Rafa forced to use the orbital right here, which, honestly, as they're going in, Nano over on the car right now, Poplot's struggling to be able to kind of stay alive, but is getting plenty of care right now, as, unfortunately, the investment doesn't really work out, so now, a minute and a half down the drain, and you could be looking at the lead being extended even further.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, you're in a really, really bad spot here. You have 2 ultimates to go, but you still have to deal with 2 ultimates on the other side, especially that Deadeye from Niano, which I'm going to imagine is going to be used as a zoning tool as they get back into the fight. But Lamont Pulse Bomb, especially if you find someone like Lake Tat, someone like Rafa, that might not be what you want to see early on, but it does miss, so you are kind of free for the moment.
Yeah, you see immediately, Crow's immediate reaction to everything that's going on is to turn to help their backline. Get rid of Gusagabo, make things difficult to do anything, because now without the tank, I mean, it's really hard to do anything, but apparently for Popla, it's being taken down. Ligtat, more than happy to keep the chances alive right here. They're pulling back out the Hammer Crow, running for their lives right here, surrounded as they're going to get rid of Rafa. Eventually, Gusagabo going to make their way back into the fight, so they're going to win this one, but now from here on decks, it has to be perfection for Garfo.
Yeah, and that's going to be hard for them. They do have ultimates to play with here. However, I mean, Crow's not that far away from Annihilation. You need to win fights quick. That's going to be the only thing. You cannot allow Pumas to really build up to anything that they have coming up outside of that Annihilation, which you know is going to be here soon. But losing Ligtad early to the sleep would be costly. The Suzu coming out there from Capium might not necessarily be what you want, because now they can be pressured out.
Yeah, and Dystopia is going to be in a really rough scenario right here, as everyone needs to stay alive. This is a do-or-die scenario right here. Gusagabo gonna go in with the aggression, eventually gonna help get rid of Crow right now. You can't afford to lose anybody. You lose Ligtat here right now, as eventually close spawns are gonna be online right here, as Lamont hanging around, and I mean, Gusagabo has some idea, but they don't know specifically where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, You're not that far away from it now. I mean, once you get around this corner, you're going to be able to see where that golden line is. However, the ultimates are now starting to pile up here for Pumas. Gobo is going to be the only one that has an ultimate here ready early on. Rafa and Capium could be able to up to theirs, but the pulse bomb out. Rafa's going to be able to save themselves here with a shield.
Yeah, and now Gustavo's got to use the ult just to stay alive right now, and now Crow is probably just going to go ultra aggressive with his ult because there's no reason not to. Gonna go through, gonna get rid of one right now, treading out one after another, and Gustavo down means this one is essentially done. So, ladies and gentlemen, in classic fashion, Crow finishing with the 4K. We're gonna go to a lovely map 5 right now. Pumas coming back angrily once more. And I mean, these dominant starts they have on these maps, I mean, it keeps them ahead, it keeps them going, and right now, it's got them to a 5th and final map.
I mean, it's kind of what we expected from this series. Like we said, Pumas has played a couple tough teams early on, was able to win one, went up against Elements, who we talked about being that best team in this region probably, and, you know, suffering a loss to them. Garfo's been going up against tough teams as well. So these two teams I thought were pretty evenly matched coming into this series here. So us going 5 is not necessarily the biggest shock here, but we do know here that map pool has kind of reset. I believe Garfo has their choice of any map, or it might just be back to control where you can only pick Ilios or Oasis at this point. But I mean, that was a great bounce back map from Pumas, much like map 2 was on Circuit Royale. I mean, it was the fast start that really got them everything they needed there, because as that map went on, I mean, you slowly started to see Garfo find picks, win team fights, start pushing that barrier. You give Garfo probably another minute and a half, they might have been able to win that map right there and end the series. But hey, Pumas, that fast start again, really helping them out. They're going to need to have that fast start in our final map of the night, which is going to be Dorado. And I don't hate this.
I do not either in the situation right here. What I also don't hate is the ban as well, getting rid of the brig right here. And honestly, I think that is a very intelligent decision. I think the brig has been a relatively big problem when it came to Garfo in the situation. I don't think it was the most deadly thing, but I think it was constantly a fixture that made it difficult for the DPS to really have that extra level of aggression.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I mean, we potentially talked about seeing potentially Garfo bring us to a map where you could see Wrecking Ball, and I really do believe that this final map, I mean, Wrecking Ball is a possibility to see, but we know what the second ban is. It's actually going to be the Soj, which not surprised. I mean, both teams have been playing Soj throughout the night, but I mean, Garfo has been primarily playing the Soj. Maybe we saw Freya there once or twice, but the Soj has been a cornerstone for this lineup. So banning them out in this map works out for them, because you could probably see Vex come back in for the other side if that's going to be the case, but no. No, Crow's going to stay in. We do see Wazi coming back in, though. So the Wrecking Ball is back on the table here now for Garfo, if that is going to be what they want to do. However, Winston's still there. Doomfist is still there. I mean, Hazard. We haven't seen Hazard yet this series. There's a lot of potential here for Wazi, but we saw the Wrecking Ball from them back on Saravasa Hunter.
Yeah.
And it was a problem, to say the least.
It was a massive problem to deal with right here. And now, to decide it all right here, map 5, Dorado, gonna be the case right now. Obviously, the ball going to come out of the situation right here, did not get banned, but what's really interesting right now, obviously, nothing locked in for the attackers until, you know, we're there, but Crow currently matching the ball.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it, especially with Poplots there on that, back on the Life Weaver that they played an excellent map on back on Circuit Royale. That was definitely going to be able to help Crow get out of some bad spots, but they can't be constantly putting themselves in the bad spots. When you look at the other side, though, I mean, it's going to be really, really hard to shut them down outside of Capium sleeping them and anting them. I mean, Dystopia and Leaktat aren't really there to slow down the ball. Yeah, you have Coach Gun there that could knock them away, but you have to be ready for it, and Crow already kind of harassing that back line.
Yeah, I mean, honestly trying to do the exact same thing right now, and 100%, it is the right decision right here to just just bother the backline. Keep taking away attention, make it difficult to have the backup, because Crow would love to have Niano and Lamont kind of just helping out every single occurrence, but, I mean, just doing a really good job of stopping that as both balls being forced out eventually.
Yeah, Wazi needed to roll away because they were anteed up after being put to sleep, but I mean, Niano getting rid of Dystopia early on is really going to force back Garfo here. They have to completely just kind of fall back. Lictet, though, they don't know the meaning of fall back.
Yeah, they don't know that at all right here. So, I mean, with that pick right there, while respawns are pretty close, it's going to calm things down just for the moment right here. Dystopia trying to make their way back. Unfortunately, the squad is in a really rough scenario, but, I mean, Wesley doing a really good job of just stalling this around, but honestly, getting out alive should be priority number one.
And they're going to be able to do that. That's one thing they've been doing a great job on this Wrecking Ball, but Crow also finding some value with this Wrecking Ball early, getting rid of Capium. So, I mean, if you are Garfo now, you kind of have to back up, but this Tracer and Ball, they really want to try just to pester as much as they can, but right now, I think you're starting to see that they figured out that they need to get out of Dodge.
Yeah, mine's coming up online way faster for them at this point as well. Crow still sitting far behind right now, but gonna get slept and getting taken care of. I mean, Dex, I think that kill right there might just solidify this first point cap right here and now.
I mean, Lake Tat's gonna have something to say about that. They've been kind of making sure they're always sticking around the cart, but you lose Rafa out as well. I mean, you're just stalling now. Lake Tat falls. Yeah, the rest of Garfo gonna fall back. I mean, again, this is what we were kind of talking about throughout this entire series, those slow starts here for this Garfo squad. This isn't necessarily the slowest, but it's not necessarily the fastest or what we kind of want to see for them. Crow on this Wrecking Ball is starting to be a problem a little bit for them, and they really need to figure out a way to shut them down. And I feel like after potentially Bob or the Pulse Bomb comes out from Lake Tat, you might have to make a swap.
Yeah, I think that's a very big possibility as well. Lamont being down, though, could slow down the party just a little bit right here, as mine's going to be used by Crow in this scenario, and it's going to get rid of Capium of all people in the situation, and now, with mine's back on the point right now, it's a good stall tactic, but it's not going to stop this cart from still kind of just moving slowly but surely.
Yeah, but it stalled it out just long enough that it will allow Capium to get back here in time. The tree, though, coming out from Poplots a little early here. I think if you're Garfo, you give him some space here, because you already got rid of a huge ultimate, but hey, finding Poplots out and the effects, hey, icing on the cake.
Yeah, and that will solidify things right then and there. Crow should be able to get out without any real issue in the road right here. Going to be getting the Mega in the back, and honestly just going to keep causing a lot of chaos, and now they're just going to wait for the right opportunity, because so far, Crow will just fully get out at this point.
Yeah, they're going to be able to escape there, luckily. And, I mean, Crow hasn't died yet. They've been doing a really, really good job on this Wrecking Ball here. They, you know, were able to actually affect Razy there a little bit. But there you go. That's what I was expecting to see. The Winston come out at some point, especially once you get to the second point. The high grounds become something that you want to be diving on.
Yep, Bob ready for Dystopia in the situation right here. Could just be waiting for the right moment to go ahead and use it. Also, a really good pedal right there being used by Poplot, so that's going to cause a lot of trouble. Ball going to go out, Big Anti going to catch on right now, but unfortunately, it's not going to mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. Eventually, it's just really going to be the stall tactic right here, try to work up towards those mines, and maybe, honestly, could still potentially get out. Still has a ton of health right now, and just, I mean, Wasi just isn't going to let this point go.
They have mines ready to go as well, so they could just drop them on point. Yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're just stalling out. I love this kind of play style right now from Garfo. It's just eating away the time bank here, especially if you see the Tracers fighting in the backline, and the Bob coming out as well here from Nano on that high ground.
Yeah, and it's going to make it difficult for anybody to go anywhere. Going to catch it right now, and this time, Niano in one of the worst spots possible. Bob, though, going to get slept for the time being. Woken back up, but shouldn't cause any more issues right here as, I mean, Ozzy doing everything they can to really kind of stop things right now, but they're just going to have to focus on trying to survive for the moment.
Crow's in a little bit of a bad spot. Pulse Bomb coming out won't really affect them here, but, I mean, if you're Garfo, you're doing a good job of keeping this cart moving at a pretty slow pace. Pulse Bomb, though, the Suzu wasn't necessarily needed there, but, I mean, you're not going to lose your backline just yet.
Yeah, but it might not be too far behind right here as eventually Capium taken care of right now. Secondary dive going to be ready for Crow right here, but still disadvantage there. You got to think about whether or not you're willing to invest your ult to this point right here, because the most diveable targets are sitting considerably far away.
And right now, Wazzy and Lake Tat are just being this duo that's very, very hard to deal with here. I mean, they have really slowed down the progress of this card push here. The Nano being invested here, though, it really shows that Pumas want to get a roll on.
Yeah, this is not the place you want to be. Dystopia gonna get eventually eliminated right here. Good sleep, but unfortunately, isn't gonna stop the pick. And now we could see the investment right here from Wazzy to kind of stop this point right now, because they're the one person who can stop it. They're gonna get the Mega, so they're gonna be able to retouch again.
Well, you have Lamont back over here on the Sombra.
Oh my gosh.
That could slow him down a little bit, but Lake Tat, again, the partners in crime, they are committing a lot of it there. And now a minute 10 to go here. If you are Pumas, or you look at what you have here, it's only tree. It's only tree. If you're Garfo, you are in a good spot right now. If you can win a fight without an investment of two ultimates, it would be huge.
Yeah, Ligtat being very smart to play the corner like that. Isn't going to even have to hit the recall right here. So Niano going to get taken care of in the Cassidy 1v1. But doesn't mean things are done. The tank being down means this is the best opportunity you have had as Pumas in a long time to take a fight.
I mean, you have to go now because you know Wise is going to be able to get back there pretty quickly. However, considering rush and a lot of other stuff ready. Tree out here early from Poplot.
And Rafa coming up online, able to jump over, make something happen, and now... Oh boy, this is getting devastating very quickly. Fight over with, but bright side is that is a quick fight. Dystopia gets rid of 3, and Niano gonna fall directly afterwards. A retouch is gonna be tough, but it is doable. But Poplots might have to be the man here.
No, it's going to have to be Lamont, but Lamont gets sidetracked there by Wazi. Ligtat's going to be able to clean them up. Now it's all of the Poplot. No, Crow back on the ball. They should be able to get there in time, especially since there's no one that can really slow them down. The sleep not going to be able to get there. So overtime will commence here. And if you're Lamont, I mean, you're not that far away from an EMP. You need to build it up here fast.
Yeah, but it's so unbelievably far away. Crow is just eventually going to get forced away from the point. Going to go back. Going to almost get soloed right here as Dystopia trying to burn them away. FX getting taken care of. Crow dropping will solidify it, but shields are there to keep surviving. Unfortunately, survivability is becoming an inevitability right here. Taken care of, stopped just outside of second checkpoint, and now for Garfo, the checkered box is right where they want it.
I mean, it's probably not exactly where they want it, but they'll take it. They will gladly take where it is, because that is doable. It is really doable considering how Garfo, again, they started off a little slow, but it wasn't as slow as it was other maps, especially when you look back at last map where it took them essentially 5, 6, 7 minutes to really get going. It took them 2 fights here, and that was the main difference. You also had Wazi and Ligtat. Like I said, the partners in crime, that dynamic duo did everything you wanted from a Wrecking Ball and a Tracer there. It really put a lot of pressure back on to Pumas, especially that backline. And you saw it there a lot. Wazi was using the minefields to stall out Cart in fights where, hey, you could argue they had lost. They should not have won, and they need to give up space, but just the uses of it there. I don't think the mines really found any value, but they found value in just eating away that time bank, which ended up working out for them immensely. But right now, you look at Pumas' lineup here, Lamont and Niano. They are on 2 characters here to slow down the Wrecking Ball, because if you can slow down the Wrecking Ball for Garfo, you might just end up winning this map here.
Honestly, you might be able to. I mean, we have seen a lot of teams be held on this very first point. And the scary part is, it's honestly not that hard to be held here either. You can stall out on this overpass for a pretty long period of time, depending on what you're playing right here. So, if you're Crow and the rest of this Garfo squad, you want or more so, if you're Wazi and the rest of this Garfo squad, you want to have as fast of an impression as possible on this first point.
Yeah, and look at where Nano's kind of playing here. They are in that backline. They're sticking with them, kind of like how the Ashe was last round. They're sticking with that backline to make sure they can get the hacks there onto Wazi, so that when they get into that backline, they find almost no value and have to roll away very, very quickly.
Yep, Crow is kind of just getting pushed away further and further right here. Hack going to be onto Wazi right now. They're going to get deleted almost instantly right here, which means you can't do a whole lot. Nano being over on this Sombra realistically should be your biggest threat.
Yeah, and right now, if you're Ligtat, you have to be communicating with them that they have to be checking where Nano is, and they have to always have an eye on them here, because if Wazi is not finding the value, then the rest of your team is not going to be finding anything either. And Lamont getting rid of Ligtat there, I mean, that partner in crime, Wazi hacked and just trying to roll away as fast as they can here, almost gets taken out. But now a minute off that time bank here, and you're starting to see some swaps come out here for Garfo, and I like them.
I like them a lot here considerably as well right now. Gonna go on the high ground. Again, just winning there every single time is Niano right now, who wants to make it as difficult as possible right here. But right now, Dystopia taking a bit of damage, finding a struggle. But Lamont gets taken out by Ligtat, who's coming back online with this Genji right now. And you can see the immediate back out in this situation of Pumas right here. Right now, Niano needs to be able to stay alive right now. Big deflection. Ligtat getting the care they need for the time being right now, as getting forced back further and further. Poplot's getting super low. Lamont might be forced to use this Deadeye here more aggressively than you would think.
They might have to use it now, but Crow's not that far away from a minefield, which, remember how Wazi used it last round, they need to use it the exact same way this round here, but anteed up, they're going to roll away. But still, I mean, you're finding picks if you're Pumas here. However, that cart's still moving.
Yeah, mine's going to be used as well. I mean, Capium is as good as dead right here. That's eventually going to be it. Crow getting a 3K to finish it off right now. So 2 minutes down the drain right here. And unfortunately, you're walking into a pretty, I mean, substantial alt differential, at least for the very beginning of the fight.
Yeah, and right now, if you're Neano, that EMP is going to be used to basically counter out minefields from Wazzy. That has to be what it's used for. It has to be the only reason it's being used. Consumer Rush out here early from EFX. They're playing aggressively here, which is something I really love to see from them.
Yeah, but unfortunately hasn't really resulted in anything yet right now. I mean, it's going to be solo used. It's going to be slowly used on the Lictet. It will find them at the end of the day. I don't know if that's what I used it on, though.
No, I don't know if that's what I would have used on either. If you're going to solo EMP anyone, you're EMPing the tank.
And then go down.
Lictet didn't even pop Blade, and you lose Neano here. I mean, if you're Garfo, this is your moment. You go in now knowing that Wazzy and the rest of your team doesn't have to deal with anyone very, very quickly, and it seems like that's their plan.
Yeah, mine's going to be used right here. B can be used directly afterwards right here. Could be a devastating stick. Does not catch on to anybody right here as right now you got to try to find something right now. Wazzy ends up getting taken down. They're going to go back and get the touch with about 1.5 meters left on the board right here. And Dystopia could be looking to find one of these supports right now, getting super low right here. Dystopia, though, in a really rough spot here. Eventually, Body's going to get forced out. 1.1 meter right now. Mine's going to come online for the second time for Crow. But the numbers game could be playing to some effect right now. It's a 3v3 essentially right here, as they're trying their darndest to clear out this point, but everyone's staying on the point, being very smart, not to simply get off and give it up right here as Lictet just struggling to find a pick.
The only ultimate that's going to be ready here is the Nano for Capium. I think you're in Crow. That could be a huge pick-off for them here early on, but they're not going to be able to. Nano out on the Lictet. You need to be able to find a lot of value with this.
Yeah, and it's going to get rid of at least one right now. They're all in the background right now. Lictet's gotten rid of 2 right now. It's becoming a difficult scenario, and they're coming alive. Lamont taken care of. And with Crow being taken down, all but solidifies the point, and life will be rejuvenated here for Garfo. 2.5 minutes to go. 87 meters. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 2.5 minutes away from deciding the winner of the series.
And here's a big thing right now. Because Garfo won a fight right there at the point, they're going to have some free push here. I do not see any reason for Pumas to try to push up very fast here, but Crow, I mean, and now I don't get to do it here. Oh, that support line for Garfo!
No.
Oh, a costly mistake here early on. It allows Pumas here to get set back up.
Oh, no, that is devastating. And Wazzy being so far ahead as well means that, like, they can't really go back to back them up here. That's something we have seen from the tanks of the side of Pumas, that when their backline is getting hit, they immediately fall back and take care of the issue.
Yeah, but right now, I mean, if you're Garfo, you need to get something out fast. Hey, honestly, this ultimate coming out here right now from EMX is not the worst thing for Garfo, but you need to be able to just kite it and survive.
And kiting surviving, they happen to be doing for now. Lictet does get hit with that hack right now, but now things become dangerous because Neano might be forced to have to use this upcoming EMP to try to pull this one back right here. Everyone hanging very smartly onto the high grounds right here. But here we go, online right now. Gonna try to cut through, but Bull ultimates are gonna fail, and Crow gonna clear them away with a little bit of help from Lamont. Getting taken away, the trade does not work out, and things becoming just a little bit desperate now for Garfo.
Yeah, it's becoming desperate, especially with a minute to go here, and you have at least 3 guaranteed fights here if you start winning them if you're Garfo. But you got rid of Kitsune, you got rid of Mines, you got rid of Deadeye. Yeah, you still have to deal with an EMP and a beat, but you're in a good spot right now. You're about to have 4 ultimates. If you can win a fight here, only investing 1, you put yourself in a really good spot. EMP there will find 2 this time.
Yeah, and that's not good. Crow has gotten rid of them. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out. I mean, Capium isn't going to be able to make it back inside anyway. It's just Wazzy still alive right now. 30 seconds and counting. Might not even live here. They might just try to hunt them down, and it looks like they're just going to go over the hunt, and they should be successful.
That's costly. That is very costly here, because now you cannot have any presence on the card. However, you still have 4 ultimates. Poplots is the only ultimate ready on the other side, but Crow, EFX, Lamont, they got a lot that last fight. I mean, right now, if you're Garfo, you're going to have to put up a hell of an overtime period at this point. You cannot afford to lose a fight here early, though.
Yeah, B can be used early right here with the mines right now. Rafi getting super low. Dystopia, they're throwing literally everything into this just to solidify they get even a chance to fight again right here. Crow being taken care of means the opening is 100% there. They're going to be able to break through, but now there's no ults to their name. It's going to be a 3-0 ult differential. Potentially a small miracle needed for Garfo to pull this out.
You just need to play smart. You need to be checking everyone right now. You know, Crow's going to be there. You know, EFX is going to be there. And you know that Lamont does have this Deadeye ready to go. You cannot afford to lose one to that Deadeye. You really cannot. You need that Deadeye to be worthless here. But hey, they're going to be making this really, really interesting. Crow's minefield, though, that's going to be a difference maker here.
Yeah, mine's going to go in a very awkward scenario, and they're going to get forced off the cliff!
Oh man, Hunter, that is a rough way. A rough way to lose one there if you are Garfo, but Pumas, they bounce back here in this series, able to win our final 2 maps and put themselves back up to 2-1 on the season, definitely putting them in the top 4 of all the teams here in the Masters here for the South American region. But what a series by both these 2 teams. However, I mean, Pumas made the right swaps there. I think Niano on that Sombra, it struggled to find a lot of value there on the attacking side, but on the defensive side is where it really shined. It was able to shut down Wazi enough. It was able to shut down both Ligtat and Dystopia on that DPS line. They just struggled immensely. And I mean, give it up to Pumas for really bouncing back and being able to shut down the Wrecking Ball that had basically been the thorn in their side the 2 times they saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of speechless after what we just saw there moments ago. Obviously, the mine's coming out in a way to where you couldn't really go left, you couldn't really go right. I mean, unfortunately, you were already pretty engaged in that situation if you're Wazi. It's a really unfortunate set of circumstances because directly under the overpass isn't necessarily the place you expect the mines right there. And I think maybe that was a calculation by Crow who's like, you know what? You know, we have 2 other ults. Let's try to make this happen. The Deadeye is going to be almost unstoppable anyway, so let's try to make it happen now. And, I mean, it's not the way you want a game to end, I'll tell you that. But, I mean, if you're Pumas, you're more than happy to take that win and bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely are. But if you're Garfo, I mean, we talked about here, they were looking for their first win this season. They now dropped to 0-3. And, I mean, I think it's going to start turning around for them here. They have played 3 of the 4 toughest teams, in my opinion, in this tier, so they could definitely bounce back here in their next couple games. I believe they still have to play Elements, which is going to be a hard game for them, but that'll be their last hard game. They're going to be able to probably have a couple good games here coming up, especially with how they played here tonight. That first win, I mean, you could argue it should have been tonight, but it's not far away for this Garfo squad. I mean, this was a very, very talented team, but Pumas, I mean, unlike last week against Elements, they weren't ever able to get over that hump. This week, they were able to get over the hump and just kind of ran with it. We talked about here a little bit that Garfo, on the maps they lost, they really started off slow on. This last map, though, I mean, that attacking round, they started off slow, and it was something that really, really came back to bite them. And that's just it's unfortunate for them. It really is.
Yeah, it really is, but you can kind of see the improvement of this squad. I mean, this is a team that we hadn't gotten to cover until, you know, here today, obviously. But, I mean, from what we have seen, this is a team that just unfortunately had a rough go of it at the very beginning. They're clearly fighting back really well against these teams. It's just these unfortunate scenarios where they get found out at the end and they just don't have another answer, unfortunately. But, I mean, credit to them still. I mean, an incredible fight back, some dominant points. I mean, Garfo, clearly a good squad. Pumas just knew they needed this win badly to stay in that upper echelon.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now, and I can tell you 4 players who did not have a lot of fun that map. The supports.
Oh yeah.
The support. They had a decent amount of time there. I mean, the wrecking balls are always a problem, but especially when you get in those die compositions, you know the supports are the ones that are getting kind of targeted out here. But they did a really good job. They did a really good job, even though it probably wasn't the most fun for them there. And the wrecking balls, they were pretty consistent throughout it. Ligtat, I mean, they did everything. They're the only person with 30 eliminations in that entire map for any of the players there. I mean, the tank there for Pumas, our Crow and Wisey were not that far away from 30, but they really put on a show there. The Wrecking Balls, though, really put on a show as well. But like I said, I really think the main difference there was Niano playing that Sombra and finding a lot of value where the first couple times we saw it, it struggled.
Yeah, I think it really did in that situation right there. And it's an unfortunate fact that they did struggle to really get away with that right there. But that is just the nature of this game and the nature of dealing with these bans, which honestly didn't end up really being the largest of actors in the world, but I mean, I'm just kind of gazing back through the sheet and everything that we saw, getting rid of that Sojourn. I mean, maybe that is something that we look back on, because something like a Sojourn on that map, honestly, would have had huge carry potential. I think that might have been potentially the most significant ban of the entire series, honestly, because shutting down Dystopia in what is the most important map of the series, that, I mean, clearly just proved to be a bit devastating in that situation.
Yeah, and also the Brig, I feel like would have been able to help out with the Wrecking Ball, especially the Sombra as well here. But I believe it was actually the Brig ban coming out from Garfo. So that could have been something that, I mean, if it was there, would have been able to help them out a little bit. But however, they didn't really play Brig when we saw them play the Wrecking Ball back on Saravasa. However, I mean, Hunter, an incredible series. This South American region keeps on giving us really, really good series. And we saw these two teams put up a hell of a fight. Like I said, Garfo still looking for the first win, but I believe it's not that far away. Pumas now puts himself back up into probably those top 4 teams after this week. And you have to start talking about this team, that if they put together a series against teams like Factor X and a team like Elements, they might be able to give them a run for their money here, back in the playoffs here.
Yeah, I think they 100% have contendership to get to that point here. Obviously, you still have other teams you have to worry about between, like, obviously, like our Elements, like our Factor X, like our Luminous, even. So, yeah, 100%. Like, Warfist, another team that is having a really good run as well. Like, this is not a one-horse race by any means here.
No, not at all.
But either way, I mean, once again, I do this every time, but especially for today absolutely popped off. I mean, everyone who came out to watch, especially those from the South America region, obviously, I appreciate the sport. I'm sure Dex obviously appreciates it as well, that we can have such a very lively audience here. Pretty much every single time we come down to this region, y'all are massively entertaining every single time. But for the time being, that'll do it. If you decide to come back a little bit later, we're only like 20 minutes out from our next match.
Yeah.
We're covering, we got a little break in between, but we'll be covering a match between Amplify and Extinction Zero from North America. If you want to stick around in about 20 minutes for that game, obviously you're more than free to. But for the time being, by the time you're watching this, we'll have sent a good old raid to William Mundy, because they're covering some stuff as well. So, again, I just, it's hard to put it into words at times, but it is appreciated to look at that number and be like, that many people are in here watching this game. Holy crap, that is something.
Yeah, and I believe Factor X plays Warfist tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I'll be a part of it. Hunter, I don't know if you'll be a part of it. I believe that is going to be a game that is streamed tomorrow, and that is a really, really important game for both those two teams. Warfist currently undefeated. Factor X really wants to stay in those top 4 teams here. They've already lost once, trying to make sure they don't lose twice. So make sure you tune back in tomorrow to watch that series.
Yep, 100%. But either way, for the time being, we'll be done with South America for the day. Like I said, North America coming up here in about 20 minutes. Amplify versus Extinction Zero. You don't want to miss it. But once again, from all of you watching from down in South America, thank y'all greatly for coming out and watching. Make sure to keep supporting the scene, because y'all have done an amazing job doing it. There's some amazing players keeping this scene going and alive. I can't wait to see how it keeps progressing. So hopefully we'll see you here in 20 minutes, but if not, we'll see you next time for some more South American action.